and we will put out the amended. Am I correct? We did lawn licensing. We're ahead.
Point of order, Chair.
Yes.
Is it procedurally possible to combine the action items coming out of standards and assessment as one motion? And then if people have issue with one or two, to divide those, and then also to divide those coming out of finance, and then people can divide if they have an issue with one?
I think we only have a single action item coming out of standards and assessment, and it's the one that we've had. Do we have two?
I wouldn't combine them.
Then for finance?
What am I missing? 14.
Standards.
Oh, I've got the wrong list then. I've got one action item. You got two? Okay. My eight shows information item.
But it was only committee action. It put it out for 30 days for the board members to make a comment. Yeah. It is.
Well, let's turn to standards. They'll know. We have one item and possibly two on standards and assessment. We know the one that we've got folks here on, so let's move to that. And let's see, we need to wait for Vice Chair Green. Are you going to present, or is Chair Booth? You got it? Okay. All right, thank you. Vice Chair Green, we will turn to you for a report out on standards and assessment.
Okay. All right, we do have information items 1, 2, 3 that you are welcome to look at, and we'd like to go to action item number 4, financial literacy standards revision. Okay. So the recommended action is motion for the board that the board approves the general financial literacy standards as amended, including any conforming technical changes needed for all standards. Would you like me to read the background?
Yes, go ahead, speak to the motion. Any background or support you'd like to provide, then we'll open it up to the floor.
Okay, the Financial and Economic Literacy Task Force has revised the standards for the financial literacy course as provided for in board rule and state statute. Staff presented the proposed revisions and feedback from the 30-day public comment period during the January 13th, 2023 Standards and Assessment Committee. Board members made several motions to amend. The revised standards are presented now for the full board's approval.
Thank you, Vice Chair Green. Any discussion?
Chair.
Member Klein.
No,
You have the list.
I am.
Or-
I've
I
had
have
my,
Klein, Green.
yeah, I
Wood.
had my light up.
Am I? Okay.
So I have an amendment to strand 1, standard 2, bullet points 1, 2, and 3. And I emailed that to the board members. I have Mr. Rasmussen has formatted it slightly differently, but the content is the same except for I am asking to delete bullet point 3 or strike the language of bullet point 3 and add what he has on there. That was not in your email, so you can see what was.
Bullet point 3 at all, so.
It's up here. Yeah, that was added after I emailed you.
Control plus whoever's.
Can you enlarge? No,
Yeah.
those are mine. So most of this is definitions around the economic system terms, the different economic systems. So I can speak to the motion if you want. Do you want me to read the whole thing?
So she's amending standard 2.
Sorry. Do we have your motion on the screen stated
Yes.
correctly? Okay. Is there a second?
I would second the motion.
Second, Member Bogus. So yes, back to speaking to the motion.
Okay, so I've gotten feedback in our committee meeting as well as from people in the community with some concerns about the language. And so I've worked to try to take that into consideration. with the different economic ideologies not being limited to any particular political system, as they manifest themselves, they've manifested themselves historically and currently in many and varied forms of government. So my amendments seek to clarify what these economic terms actually mean so that we can take out the bias from, because we are very divided on some of these issues, and just teach what the different systems are. And yeah, so I'm open to any questions. But the first amendment, well, I put it all into one motion. But the first bullet point, we would amend to say, understand the different ideologies behind economic systems, including capitalism, laissez-faire, social market, neo-capitalism, socialism, fascism, and communism. And I've included the definitions from each of those. There is a link there so you can see where the definitions came from. And then I would amend standard 2, bullet point 2 to read, discuss historic and current examples of traditional market, command, and mixed economic systems as they relate to the aforementioned ideologies and their effects on economic growth. And then the definitions that go with that. And then the final, let's see. And then the third amendment, or for bullet point 3, is right there. So discuss how free market systems and property rights correlate with economic prosperity.
Okay, discussion to that motion. Let me see, I'll get back to my member Wood, member Straight, and member Reel.
Well, I had a motion. Can we go back and see them one at a time now that she scrolled through all those? But I'm not speaking to this motion.
So member Wood, you're in line for another motion, okay. All right, did we get a second? I thought.
Member Bogus.
Member Bogus had
seconded.
seconded, yeah. Okay. I've got member Straight and member Reel.
So I would like to go to Strand 1, Standard 1, bullet point 5. So
There's only 3.
Standard 1.
Is this to member Klein's motion?
Sorry, did I say standard 2? I think it's.
No, you just was referring back to standard.
But so I want to talk about this for a little bit and then connect it.
Is this to
With the
member
rest of
Klein's motion though, or is this to
Well,
a separate part of the standards? Okay, so we're gonna focus on member
So
Klein's
Standard
language.
2. So on Standard 2, first bullet point. So Strand 1, Standard 2. And the first bullet point reads, well, let's see, is it this? Understand a command system such as socialism or communism, a market system such as capitalism, and a mixed economic system such as fascism or public-private partnership. It seems to me that if you ended the sentence with system, we're good. I don't understand the adding of fascism.
I've taken that out.
Oh,
In my amendment, I've taken that out.
okay. So it reads as is. So that's completely stricken.
What does it say up there
It's,
on my amendment?
oh, so we're back and forth.
So
between
bullet
two
point
different
1.
documents. Okay, my apologies. I
Can someone
I
up
have
there
what's
read that?
here, and then okay, so bullet point 3
It's
is that
similar. I don't know that it's exactly the same, but it's similar. I don't have them side by side. It would be nice to have them side by side. Is that possible?
I'm sorry, I'm having a difficult, because I'd read all of these, but I'm having a hard time correlating them back and forth.
I think that's what he's doing right there. So now you can
Okay.
compare.
So here's how I'm feeling about this. So in all fairness, one thing I do appreciate is that there's not a ton of amendments in here. So I appreciate that. That hasn't been my experience in the past. But when I get something and we're in this meeting, and in all fairness, you talked across the table and said, hey, I just sent you something, but it's hard to look at that while we're managing. Plus, there was one element when I listened to the meeting that concerned me, and that is, what is the proper process? And in speaking to this motion, I'm now getting new information, and we're reworking and we're editing something on the spot on a curriculum that has been under construction for a long time. And so, how can I make this? I would like to make a motion that an amendment. I'm sorry, we do have an emotion. Thank you. I'd like to make an amendment that this be sent back to the writing committee for further clarification, to see if they can work in these ideas into the standards. I would just feel better about that. I'd feel it would be within the confines of our process just a little bit better. And then it's hard to deal with amendments on the spot when you're not an expert. And even though I taught this for probably 8-9 years, financial literacy, I do not feel like even at that I have the expertise to question the thoughtful work of the writing committee. And I feel like we're editing just a little too much these standards. So that's my motion.
So I think that would probably be in the nature of. Sorry. I think that would be in the nature of a substitute motion, if I'm
Okay.
correct. So
A
that's,
substitute motion to send back to the writing committee and then back to the standards and assessment and then deal with it again here.
do we have a second to that motion? No second. Okay. Let's bring it back then to the floor, and we have member Reel.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, Member Klein, I appreciate you taking feedback and coming with this feedback after our committee meeting. And I appreciate you changing that. So thank you. And to Member Straight's point, I'm not an expert, but much of what I was in opposition to in the committee meeting was the blurred line between economics and government and financial literacy. And I felt like there were, we were trying to put too much in these standards that were more applicable to economics or to government classes. But I do have a question actually about the definitions. Is it appropriate to put in definitions into standards like this? Because it feels like that is something that's outside of the scope of standards and possibly too excessive for this. A list of definitions, just to clarify.
Deputy Norman?
Yes, thank you for that question. So traditionally, we don't put definitions into standards. If you look over the course of time, that's not usually a part of it. If the board would like to have them in it, that of course would be your prerogative. We can ask specifically, we have Talia and so we have Talia and Brecken right there if they'd like to come up and talk to you about the placement of definitions. The reason why we usually don't put definition in standards is because of the same thing. One, the board doesn't do curriculum. And so what would happen is then you'd have to find curriculum that matches those definitions as well. So if there's already industry standards, certificates, testing that defines them in a different way than is being defined in this area, then those would have to be replaced in those curricular materials, training packets, all of those other things according to what the board standard is. And so that's usually been the reason why it hasn't been done, but that is not to say that it couldn't be done at this time.
Great, thank you. I guess I would be not in favor of this motion due to the definitions, but open to amending the motion to change the language a bit, but still following on the feedback that you got, being able to have that opportunity. And if that means sending it back to the standards committee for a little bit more time on that piece, I'm open to that. But I think either looking through other standards to see that, and the complications with adding those definitions makes it a little harder for a yes vote for me.
Okay, and I apologize, I was responding to a text, but further, did that answer the question? Further discussion, I think next up we have member Klein and then member Earl
I have Wood to this motion.
and then Wood. We've got,
Well, Earl
That's all right.
crossed off.
Okay.
So it goes to Wood. And
So,
then-
okay, sorry, member Wood.
okay, I would speak against this motion. Financial literacy is one of the few courses that we see outlined with specifics in statute. And if you look at 53E3505, it specifically says that they should learn a description of a command system such as socialism or communism, a market system such as capitalism, and a mixed system, which if you scroll down, you can see the original language that's there. I guess scroll up, I'm always wrong in that. Understand a command. So it's aligning with the statute that we already have. And I think it's important that when we are given statute, that we try to align our language with what's already there.
It's.
Thank you, member Wood. Back to member Klein.
It is, I have used the language of code, whether you're looking at, if it's not the one that you're looking at now, it's the other bullet point, but I took that into consideration, what was in that code.
Okay, thank you. Member Bogus, then member Davis.
I would just offer that I think we're in an age where clarity is very important. And while we don't put definitions into standards very often, I think we're in a place where we need them, because how I define something is maybe not the way, I mean, even just earlier today, that the word adaptation was something that was ill-defined. And so I think it would be fruitful and provide our LEAs clarity when we start to define things. Just my thought.
Thank you, member Davis.
I'm wondering if this is time sensitive, and if it's not, and we have the writing committee look at this, could they give us information when it comes back on clearly delineating which pieces are financial literacy, which are economics, and which are social sciences?
Deputy Norman.
Yes, and I think that we have Talia and Brecken that could speak to that piece. Those questions were asked during the committee as well.
Thank you.
Sorry, can you say that one more time?
Those questions were asked during committee as well. And so we have Brecken and Talia that can answer those.
Oh, awesome.
Thank you and welcome. You just announce name and position and then go for it.
Absolutely. Good evening, board. My name is Talia Longhurst. I'm the Director of Career and Technical Education. With me tonight, I have Brecken Haywood, who is our financial literacy specialist, among other duties. I think my answer to the question that Board Member Davis asked would be that the writing committee has given their belief and preference in the standards that you see. They've had a chance to review what came out of committee last month, and their preference would be to stick with what was in their original version.
So can I ask just a clarifying follow-up there? So some of the feedback from the Standards Assessment Committee went back into the writing committee for a request to consider certain ideas, language, et cetera?
So after public comment, it went back, all of the comments went back. There were 7 or so public comments that went back to writing committee, as is our process. That came through when it came out of committee last month. Brecken showed them where we were so that they were prepared with whatever the board decided to do tonight. But they did express that they would prefer the way that they submitted it initially.
Okay, so I guess my question is, were specific recommendations or language sent by the committee for the writing committee to reconsider?
Not officially, no.
Okay, just kind of the sense that they had
Just some
had a
feedback.
discussion and,
Mhm.
okay. Further, does that answer? I can't remember who that question came from. Was that member Davis?
I have a question.
Okay, I can't remember who asked the question that we brought Talia and Brecken up for. I just want to make, okay, that was member Davis. I want to make sure that person had their question answered.
Okay,
You're it.
there's quite a list in code of concepts that are supposed to be included in this financial literacy standards. Are all of those included? Okay.
Okay, next up, member Wood. Maybe. No? Okay. Member, I see Lear, let's see, Lear and then Straight. Okay, member Lear.
My question would be, I recall asking a question like this to Scott Hansen 6-ish months ago, and I'm gonna ask Natalie because Scott's answer was such an excellent one. When I asked him where a definition came from, he said Cornell Law. So Natalie, where did these definitions come from?
There's a link in the email I sent you.
And just help me, because I didn't
I
check.
have to
the
go
link.
back and find.
Well,
it
I mean, did they
myself.
come from a legal text? Did they come from Webster's? Somebody's article then about these systems is what the answer is, right?
Oh, it is
The research.
HEIN online. So Capitalism,
what-
socialism,
do
or
you know
fascism,
what
a guide
kind
to
of
economic systems and
credibility
ideologies.
You know what kind of credibility that research platform
In
has?
reading the article, it just took out all of the polarizing sides of this and how, if is communism better, is socialism better, is free market better than a command
But I guess
system,
It's not
right?
Cornell law.
It takes it all out and just puts the definitions. So that's all it was. It's not a pro this or pro that article.
Okay.
And that's why
That
I
answer the
felt like
question?
it was a good compromise. And really, the definitions are almost the only thing new. The parts that were controversial in our committee meeting, I took out, with the exception of this one line, the red line that you see there, that's still there. I didn't take that out with my amendment. The other was just the 3 bullet points under strand 1, standard 2, and the language is almost exactly the same, just minor changes. And it's the language that was already there that I just tweaked before from what you guys did. And then incorporated a few more of the different kinds of systems so that we could list them all. And then the 3rd bullet point is the only thing that is brand new language. So I tried to get it back to closer to what it was. And then I added that 3rd bullet point. I deleted what was on the 3rd bullet point, and then added the new language so that hopefully it would be more agreeable to everybody. Instead of saying that America is superior, and that capitalism or the free market is superior, it just simply, I don't know if you can scroll up and to show that 3rd bullet point again. It's just a more factual statement and to discuss it, not just to tell the students, as was recommended in our committee, an action word that teachers could use instead of just telling kids what to think. It just gives them the opportunity to discuss how free market systems and property rights correlate with economic prosperity.
Let's see, do we have, is it member? Oh, we're back over here. Member Straight, Davis and Hymas. Member Straight.
Thank you. Since we have you up here, so if you go back to strand 1, standard 1, bullet point 5, Is that one the original language from the writing committee?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so it seems clunky to me, but I still can make sense of it. If I were to teach that, I understand how to do that. But nonetheless, I respect what the writing committee did. I'd like to make a substitute motion that we adopt the work of the writing committee.
So we had people in line, but let's see if there's a second to that, and then those folks can discuss it. Is that a second to the? Okay, so we had in line member Davis and member Hymus. Would you like to address the present motion?
Well, I guess my question was about the amendment, if we could just use the clarified language without all the definitions, since we don't have time to vet the definitions to know, I don't know if just in short notice if they're accurate or not.
So is that an amendment to the substitute motion, member Davis?
What's that?
Is that an amendment to, is that a proposed amendment to the substitute motion? Or would that work? Substitute motion was to adopt the work of the writing committee.
I'd like to see the description one more time between hers and the way it's written currently. And she said it took out the divisiveness, but left the same concepts.
I'm sorry, we have a substitute motion on the table. Is this an appropriate amendment to the substitute, or is it too distinct from the substitute to be an amendment? So the substitute is just to go with the underlying recommendations of the writing committee.
Oh, it's okay. He's just about to tell me I can't do this, I think. When he gets up that fast, I should just withdraw the motion. I can feel that wind right behind me. Oh, it's Brent's motion out of order. Excellent. He got up on you, not me. Okay.
I'm sorry, okay, thank you. Thank you. So the motion currently on the floor is member Klein's amendment to the underlying motion. That amendment has been discussed. It could be subject to amendment, but I haven't heard an amendment to member Klein's motion unless that's what member Davis is proposing.
Motion to divide.
And we lost member Davis, so
I'll speak to it. I'm
Just-
next in line.
just, okay, you are. So, I think we had member Hymus next in line. Well, then we'll come back. So member Hymus.
So Natalie, I don't know if you want to hear this or not. So I don't know if I can, and not to say I have any pull or anything, I just, as the amendment, like I can get past some of the bullet points. I can't support a list of definitions. That's where I am. So I would speak against the motion as written.
All right, further discussion. Member Davis has a light on, then member Klein. This is going to member Klein's amendment. Sorry. Oh, that's member Green, not, okay. Davis, Greenwood. Okay,
I'm confused where we are because Brent had one on the
So-
table and then I was amending his. And so you're saying it's all gone?
the substitute was ruled out of order by the parliamentarians, so we're back to member Klein's underlying motion and speaking to that motion. There are no amendments pending to her motion.
Okay. I could support adding in a few of those extra ideas, but also probably not the definitions at this time.
Is that a proposed amendment to?
No,
member
I'm
Klein's
speaking
motion?
to the, I mean, if she wanted to change it, she could.
Haven't yet.
We didn't quite get there. We had other, right.
I'm trying.
All right, so nothing more, there's no amendment on the floor, so
Davis, now it's Green.
back to member Green and then member Wood?
Yep.
Okay, there we go. And we're on member
Okay,
Klein's
can I make an
amendment,
amendment then?
amendment to the amendment, yes.
Okay,
that
to
would be in
strike
order.
the definitions. Leave the amendment as is, but strike the definitions from that.
Is there a second to that motion to amend?
Second.
Any discussion to that motion? Holding. So we can vote on that then, correct? There's no discussion. All in favor of the amended motion to
Can I
drop
speak to the amendment?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought.
It's
yes,
okay.
back to the-
I just jumped in before you finished your sentence. I
No,
just want a
please.
point, maybe it's a point of clarification too. I feel we've discussed other committees, as discussed, when you're in your groups, and we've also brought, amendments and had thorough conversation. I do feel a little bit of, different approach to what we're doing right now. Again, I'm going back to this, that it's vilified when an amendment is brought forward. I had the same complaint during our committee meeting, and I'm getting the same feedback that I feel like happened in our committee meeting when a member, which we have all done all day long, brings up for discussion. I just feel like there's maybe a double standard that's happening right here. So I'm speaking to that, and I just want to ensure that this is a fair process for board members. It was implied that, again, it's being implied that staff doesn't know what they're doing, and that's not true. If we're saying that and making those accusations, then I think we would have to apply that to anybody that's brought an amendment to what your committee did today, and that's happened all day long. So out of respect to board members in the process, I hope that, again, board members that bring amendments like this would be given the respect, that we've given everybody else all day. So it's probably out of order, but
No? Okay.
it's just for clarification, and I can get feedback if anybody would like to, again, go down this road with me, and I'm new here, so I just want to get it right.
We're
but-
talking about bringing an amendment which alters the work of staff in terms of adding or subtracting to the writing committee, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, thank
And
you. So the motion on the floor is to delete from Member Klein's amendment the definitions, correct? That's been seconded. Member Wood.
I want to divide, so I'm waiting.
Okay.
So we can vote
I
on
want to
this.
divide part of the underlying motion from Member Klein. Got it. Okay. Any further discussion then to Member Green's motion to delete the definitions from Member Klein's motion? Further
Another
discussion, Member Lear?
Another clarification, it doesn't,
Oh.
I've got it on, it's just my little sensitive guy, he's been overused. He,
You got it.
this in no way says we accept the other amendments, it just is deleting the definitions for now, is that right? Maker of the motion?
Correct. It would have the effect of deleting the definitions and leaving the rest for
And then for
consideration
further
on
discussion.
Member Klein's motion. Correct.
Thank you.
All right, Member Davis?
I yield my time to the floor.
Okay.
I just wanted to know, I was under the understanding we don't have definitions in our other standards, so I don't want to be accused of not being fair if that really is the case. Okay.
All right. Any further discussion to the motion? If not, let me reread it. Let's see. I think scroll down just a little bit. Member Green's amendment to Member Klein's amendment is to, very simple, strike the definitions. All in favor, please raise your hand. All right, that motion passes 13-1, I believe, brings us back to Member Klein's underlying motion.
May I now
I'm
make
sorry?
the motion to divide?
Yep. Yes, now we're back to Member Klein's. Floor is open and it is yours.
I would like to divide the three standards or three bullet points into three different votes.
Is there a second? Seconded. Discussion, starting with Member Wood to that motion to separate.
I just feel there's three different ideas and it would be best to take them each individually.
All right, any discussion to that motion? Seeing no lights, all in favor, please raise your hand. That motion passes 13-1. Okay. 12-1, excuse me. We're dropping like flies. It's 9:40. Okay. So we now have three separate elements of the underlying motion, and the floor is back open for further discussion or motions on those three items.
One more
Member
question,
Hymas.
Chair. Would it be
Or back
possible
to
to
Member
put
Wood.
each of the original language on top of each of the separate ones so we see what's changing?
I think that's a request for Ben. Do you,
I can help you, Ben. I got it. Yeah, I got it. I'll help you.
I thought somebody.
Right? We can just vote, because
we can just go through.
You can call the
yeah,
question
if-
on number
if
one.
there's no,
oh, you're waiting though to put the language up for you.
yeah,
It just is helpful.
Before they vote.
yeah, if there's no
Sorry.
discussion, I'll just go through one at a time.
It's a process.
Get the right language up there.
We're doing this, yeah, oh yeah, you wanna do it?
All right, do we have it framed up? Member Wood is the maker of the motion to separate. Member Klein, your motion underneath. We just scroll up just a little bit there. We get the bottom one on there. Okay. We've got. I just want to make sure I've got them framed up. So the first one up there is the first item, correct? Member Klein or Ben? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm gonna read off the first motion. That would be amended motion part one, correct? Amend strand one?
Mhm.
Okay. So we've divided first motion up for consideration. Member Klein amended motion part one, amend strand one, standard two, bullet point one to read, understand the different ideologies behind economic systems, including capitalism, laissez-faire, social market, neo-capitalism, socialism, fascism, and communism. Any further discussion to that motion? Member Lear.
I need somebody who's an expert in this field to tell me if that is financial literacy material. Talia Brecken? It doesn't seem to me, but I maybe don't know.
Yes, thanks. Thank you. The writing committee has already kind of had some discussion around this, and even before, when we were in the process of this, because we've received feedback on both sides. Some who have asked us to add more economic principles, and some who are also saying that this course is only a semester-long course and it is jam-packed full. And already we've had to reduce the amount of financial literacy concepts that are in this
So their
course.
conclusion was.
Yes, to keep it to a basic level of basic economic principles that align directly with state code. And we put exactly the language of state code when it comes to the economic systems, word for word from state code into our original.
But I was just looking for a yes or no.
Okay.
Is this a financial literacy material, or is it, did the writing committee feel it was something else?
Can I?
Just to say, let's
the
just get an answer to the
majority.
question we can bring back
Thank you.
to.
That's It's
got the
more of an
code.
economics concept than it is financial literacy.
Thank you.
Point of order.
Member Klein, yes.
The code 53E3505, I've got it right here in front of me, is titled Financial and Economic Literacy Education. So this is what is specific to this course that's in code, and you can look it up. And
Okay.
it just lays it all out right there for you.
And the original language, if I
Yeah, that's this
understand it,
actual code.
talks about mixed economic systems fashion. That's the original language from the writing committee,
Yeah.
correct? Up above where it's,
Other than the fashion.
No.
and public
Yeah,
fashion.
the part that says.
other than the such as fascism or public-private partnership, that was added during committee last month.
Right.
But it
Okay.
passed.
I can, would you like me to read you the 2 lines from code
Well-
about economic systems?
So
If you could quickly, then we need to turn
Says
to.
economic systems, including a description of a command system such as socialism or communism, a market system such as capitalism, and a mixed system. And B, a historic and current examples of the effects of each economic system on economic growth.
All right, thank you. Member Davis, I think, or is it Member Wood?
Well, that, I don't know, that code
Oh, here we
language
go.
is exactly the original language plus some of your other amendment. Is that right? So, I mean, the original language, the difference I see is that it breaks it into specific examples of those that are listed in code, where the replacement language does not break it into the specific categorical examples, correct? Okay.
All right, thank you. Next
Next
is
is straight.
Member Straight. Member Straight yields. Member Bogus. We're back to Member Real.
Yeah, member Klein, just for clarification, on standard 1, strand 1, standard 2, bullet point 3, explain why free market systems are superior and have made America the most free and prosperous country in the world. Was that removed in your thing? Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, thanks.
All right, let's
It's
go back to
replaced by
number.
bullet point 3 on the screen.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
So let's go back to the language of number 1. The first item up for vote is to restate, seeing no further lights, restate the motion is to amend strand 1, standard 2, bullet point 1 to read, understand the different ideologies behind economic systems, including capitalism, laissez-faire, social market, neo-capitalism, socialism, fascism, and communism. All in favor, please raise your hands. Five votes in favor, that motion fails. On to number 2. Member Klein's amended motion part 2, amend strand 2, bullet point 2 to read, discuss historic and current examples of traditional market, command, and mixed economic systems as they relate to the aforementioned ideologies and their effect on economic growth. Any discussion to that motion, Member Bogus?
I would just ask if Member Klein could align it to code. I think this also aligns with code, and I just want clarity on that, please.
Member Klein, any comment?
So in the code, it mentions mixed systems, market systems such as capitalism and mixed systems, command systems such as socialism or communism. So it's using the code just split up into between the 2 bullet points.
Got it. Any other? I'll just, seeing no lights, I'll just comment briefly. This one seems to be more rooted to financial and economic, where the other one was exploring the ideologies behind it, and something I find interesting, but to me veered more into political philosophy, where this one seems to track the financial literacy and economic examples. So I'll just speak in favor of this one. Any further discussion to this particular motion? Back to Member Klein? No, Member Davis?
Agreed. I was gonna say the same thing.
Okay. So this motion is before the body. All in favor, please raise your hand. We get the count? 11 in favor, so that motion passes. And we'll go on to number 3. Are we okay, or Brecken?
I
Or-
apologize. Can we go back to the
Talia,
motion that you just
sorry.
made? So there
Yes.
is a statement in there about aforementioned ideologies that would need to be removed since we're no longer referring to those ideologies.
So we didn't bring that up prior to passing it. It refers back. Would that be a technical correction,
Can we do a revote?
Member Klein?
Can we do a
If
revote?
you were in the prevailing part, yeah, whatever you call that
I
group,
was.
then yes, you can bring
Yeah.
it back.
Okay, I
There you go.
motion
Prevailing
we
side.
adjust the language to the formerly voted on amended motion and do a revote. Strand 1, part 2.
Move to reconsider.
Reconsider.
So first we have to vote on whether to reconsider, then we have to vote on any changes, correct? Yep. All right, the motion to reconsider, all those in favor? Motion to reconsider is before the body. That, I move that all right, rule that passes. And we now have the language back for reconsideration. Is there any amendment to that language? Is that striking? Is that somebody's suggested language?
So moved.
Somebody moved that? Was that Member
Yeah,
Bogus?
reconsider was on the previous.
Point of clarification, Chair.
Did I?
So
did we
the,
get wrong one
the
back?
strike was a fix because the first bullet wasn't accepted, so they struck that in order to make it work. But now that
Yes.
it's being reconsidered, the strikeout is
So I
not
think
necessary.
this is the one being reconsidered, correct?
No.
I'm sorry.
We
Did you
haven't
bring back
voted on
number
this one.
1 or number 2, Member Real?
First one,
The
the
first
one that we voted on originally before this amendment. So
I apologize. I
Yeah,
thought you
sorry.
were bringing this one back to address the
No,
use of
those were
ideologies.
it was confusing and
Okay.
yeah,
You're bringing back the first
the
one.
first one.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let's
point
bring
of
that
order.
back up.
Why can't that just refer back up to the one we just voted on number 1? I know, but the original language
The-
has all the same examples in it.
So
They
I-
have a traditional market, a command, and a mixed economic system.
I think the first one had language about ideologies. That was voted down. This refers to ideologies. It could refer to systems or something. I don't know. But I didn't realize you were bringing back number 1 for reconsideration. So can we scroll up to number 1? Member Klein's first motion is the one that was voted to be reconsidered. You scroll up to motion 1. This one. Yes. Understand the different ideologies. That's the one that was brought up for reconsideration, then, correct? Okay. All right.
Point of order.
So that has been brought up for reconsideration.
Can she
Member
actually do that?
Bogus? Prevailing side was, yes, so.
Okay, that's all I was wondering.
Okay. So this is now up for reconsideration, which means it's back before the body for amendment. Yes, bullet point 1 is back before the body. Member Davis?
I don't know why I speak against bringing this back, I guess, because we can just cross out the piece that's crossed out in the next one and it makes sense.
So we have this back before the body. In this initial form, it failed. Is there a proposal to amend the language now that it's back up for consideration? If not, we'll submit it to another vote. So the language is back up. And we'll go back to a vote. So the motion is amend Strand 1, Standard 2, Bullet Point 1 to read, understand the different ideologies behind economic systems, including capitalism, laissez-faire, social market, neo-capitalism, socialism, fascism, and communism. All in favor, please raise your hand. I'll vote for it. That motion passes. So reconsidered and passes, and then we're on to motion number 2. 8 to something. 5, we're down to 5.
13 minus 8.
8 to 5, okay, so motion number 2 has passed. Motion number 3 is to amend standard 2, bullet point 3 to read, discuss how free market systems and property rights correlate with economic prosperity. Any discussion to that motion? Member Klein, did you want to address that one? Or have you? Okay, Member Lear.
I'm, maybe it's because it's late. I'm struggling with the meaning of correlate. I don't know that they correlate. Is that, if that's language from the code, I would defer to that, but I don't think they always do correlate with economic growth. So I feel like that is a slanted statement.
Is that a question for Member Klein?
Well,
Just a comment.
Discuss how the market systems and property rights correlate. How free market systems, because you said market systems, I could live with that. And property rights correlate with economic growth. I guess what I'm saying is I can't support it the way that's written because it sounds like free market systems generate economic prosperity, and that's not always true in my mind.
Okay,
My very paltry understanding is.
I have Vice Chair Earl and Member Bogus, I believe, unless, oh, Deputy Norman, would you like to jump in?
I can jump in. And I just wanted to make a clarification on there. The original language is the language that came out of committee. It wasn't the original language from the writing committee. This was in addition to the standards that came through. So so in making that comment, I just wanted to not alert you, but to be able to say where it fitted. Yeah, so that when it says original committee language, yeah. So that, yeah.
Okay.
There isn't.
Added standard.
All right, Vice Chair Earl and Member Bogus,
Yeah, I'd like to make an amendment.
and then Member Davis. Okay,
Where is it? Right, replace correlate with can lead to.
It's the same thing.
okay. Second for that. It's been seconded. Does that accurately state the amended motion? Earlier? Vice Chair Earl, sorry. Okay, that's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? We've got lights from Member Bogus, Member Davis. These go to this motion? No?
Yeah, I speak against I'll speak for Member Klein's amendment, but against the amendment to the amendment. Because I think cantileting to is part of correlate, and correlate is just more clearly communicated.
Okay. Seeing no further lights, all in favor of the amendment to the motion, please raise your hand. That fails. Member Norton is raising, Member Norton is raising Member Straight's hand kidding. It's not that late. Okay, so that motion fails. Back up to the motion. If we can go back, do we have hands? Member
And then green.
Bogus and Green.
Hard G.
Member Bogus and Member Green.
I would make an amendment, move to amend the thing where maybe, and I'm not seeing the language. Could I see now, Member Klein's amendment, please? Bullet point. Oh, that part. Yeah, so perhaps discuss examples when free market systems and property rights correlated with economic prosperity. I think that would have to be in the past tense correlated.
Okay, is
Oh,
there
I
a second?
apologize.
Is there a second to that motion? Oh, we're waiting for a second. Okay, that motion, that
You waited.
fails for lack of a second. Okay, so is Member Lear up? I think. So
Member Green.
we skipped Member Green, sorry. So
Okay.
did you have? Not to this? Okay. Member Lear.
What about, I make a substitute motion. Discuss if free market systems, no, where are we now? Discuss,
Weather?
I'm trying to find whether, yeah, I can't find where we were. Free and prosperous country in the world. Oh, no. Oh, yes, there
Just
it is.
leave it the way it is.
It's the very bottom. Jenny, it's that head problem.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, no. Discuss if or whether free market systems and property rights correlate with, and I think it can be in the present. Discuss if free market systems. But I can't do it if you take the amendment off or the language up. I think it should be whether. I think Jim was right.
I don't know if that's right. I don't think it's right.
Discuss if, I'm sorry, all right, we'll go back to if. Discuss if free market systems correlate with economic prosperity. All right, that's probably a more accurate, interesting discussion question.
Okay, is there a second to that? Hearing no second. That one fails and we're back to the motion. Discuss, let's see, can we bring up the underlying? Discuss, the motion before the body then is amend strand 2, bullet point 3 to read, discuss how free market systems and property rights correlate with economic prosperity. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Oh, but we could go.
That motion passes. Thank you. Okay.
Rest of it is.
Have we addressed all of the underlying motion from Member Klein? I believe we struck part, divided, separated the rest, and voted on each element. I believe we're going back to finance. We have, we have to move the underlying. I'm sorry. I thought you were saying move on.
I have a motion.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. I keep missing your lights
My will,
hiding
is it
behind your
hiding?
computer
Okay.
screen. I apologize.
I have a motion to amend Strand 2, Standard 1. I'd like to substitute, strike the words discuss principles of financial freedom such as avoiding debt to the extent possible and replace it with discuss the principles of financial management that promote individual financial stability such as minimizing debt. It's up there. It should be. It was submitted a week ago. Yeah, just the one. The other one was amended already, so you can delete that.
Okay. Was there a second? Did I hear a second? Remember Earl and others? Okay.
Can I?
The red is the original?
The black is the original, the red is the.
So the motion is to amend standard 1 to say, discuss the principles of financial management that promote individual financial stability, such as minimizing debt. Back to Member Wood.
I just feel like that when we talk about to the extent possible, it's kind of subjective language. And here we're talking more about how to manage your finances. And there is some good debt. You know, if you're investing in a business, if you're buying a house, and then there is bad debt, you know, consumer debt and high interest loans. And so I think this does a better job of balancing what we need when we're really talking about financial literacy for our students.
Okay, any discussion to that motion? Member Reel?
I appreciate this as one of the very few millennials here. That is almost impossible for most of us, so.
All right, thank you, Member Reel. Seeing no other, do you have your light to come back or no? Okay. All right, so the motion is in Strand 1, Standard 2, replace discuss principles of financial freedom such as avoiding debt to the extent possible with discuss the principles of financial management to promote individual financial stability such as minimizing debt. All in favor, please raise your hand. That appears to be Member Earl.
Sorry, it
All right, that's unanimous. That motion passes. Okay. Any further discussion then on the underlying motion, which is to approve the financial standards recommended out of the Standards and Assessment Committee as amended? Any discussion to that, Member Straight?
And if you don't vote for this, I'm fine. Because because I'm going to be a hypocrite a little bit here. So Strand 1, Standard 1, bullet point 5. I would like to amend that bullet point. Explain the role of the Federal Reserve in fiscal policy. No, I mean, explain the role of the federal government in fiscal policy and the role of the Federal Reserve in monetary policy.
Worried for a minute there.
Because fiscal policy and monetary policy are very distinct. They're very, that fits the definition. But if you vote against, I understand, because that was hypocritical for me to even offer that, so.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any discussion to the motion?
Chair,
Member Bogus?
I would like to know how it originally reads.
I was not sure either. So Member Straight has it?
Explain the role of Federal Reserve. Policy and government spending. Simplified version. Kind of gets discombobulated between the two. About the federal government and its, that does by definition. Monetary policies, and interest rates.
Okay. Member Davis?
I mean, are we jeopardizing our teachers at all by starting any standard by saying, explain the role of the federal government? Other than, I get it in like 5th or 8th when we're really looking at structure, but we keep talking about political neutrality. Is it going to open up a Pandora's box? What's that? If I'm the only one that's worried about it, let's just go forward and.
Okay. This does seem to clarify the two. Member Wood?
I'd just like to amend explain to discuss.
Discuss the role of federal government. So proposed
Without
amendment.
objection.
That's better.
Sorry. That was amendment to yours without objection. We'll incorporate that into the underlying amendment. So the motion is to amend Strand 1, Standard 1, BP 5, bullet point 5, amended to read, discuss the role of the federal government in fiscal policy and the role of the Federal Reserve in monetary policy. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, raise your hand. That appears to be unanimous. Okay, thank you. Back to the underlying motion. We have no lights. So the motion before the board is to approve the financial literacy standards as recommended by the Standards and Assessment Committee as amended. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Appears to be unanimous. Okay, thank you. Back to Vice Chair Green.
I wanted to say
Does
thank
that-
you to Talia and Brecken for staying so late and helping
Yes,
us.
thank you, thank you.
Oh, no.
You get comp time, right?
All right.
Vice Chair, could
Vice-
you remind us of the agenda item, please?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Vice
agenda item
Chair
number.
Green, or are we going, I just want to wrap, did you have a comment in
I think they only
between?
had one action item.
Well, I just want to make sure, did we close out standards and assessment, Vice Chair Green? Okay, I'm just looking to the Vice Chair to make sure. Okay.
Yes, we're done.
We're
Thank you.
good? All right, thank you.